Welcome to the second video in this series. We're now going to come up with some general curriculum topics, but more importantly, we're going to come up with some themes and at least a starting point on how we can pattern them out. So let's start with opening up a blank Google Doc, and we can actually end up linking this to our main spreadsheet too. Here are some things to think about. We need to build in time for teacher choice. This helps for the days that we didn't plan for that end up messing up our plan. It could be something as simple as our own absences, where we don't want to fall too far behind or off schedule. Next on our list of things to think about is we want to look through the standards and pick out the topics we want to cover. We're going to cover the what and why behind our choices in a future video. So for now, let's just use Common Core math standards and pick out some major themes that we feel are important to target and would be most beneficial to struggling math students. During our search, we're going to intentionally leave out or barely touch on geometry and statistics and probability. In other words, we're going to apply heavy focus on 3 out of the 5 domains. Again, the nuance behind the why will come in a future video. Next on our list of things to think about is we need to come up with a focus, or the slang that is often used called do now. Hopefully we can come up with a theme because our students need to be engaged during this whole process. Next on our list of things to think about is, as we create this program, we're going to check off a lot of boxes in terms of program delivery. Sometimes we will teach, pre-teach, or reteach. Other times our classroom will be more student-centered among the various teaching styles. I use teach, pre-teach, and reteach together because as we progress through topics and themes, most of the time we will be reteaching. But there will be times where we hit on a topic that hasn't been covered yet in their regular math class. This will happen sporadically and not necessarily on purpose. We just happen to get to a particular topic first. Anyway, using these teach opportunities, our next focus will be on mini lessons, where we're the primary focus in the classroom, us as the math lab teachers. This is also where we will hit and introduce the major curriculum themes. Next on our list of things to think about is we want to sprinkle in follow-up opportunities. This is where the students get time to display their understanding of the curriculum that was recently taught to them. We will get into the more specific details of the what later. So for now, we're simply going to call this practice. Next on our list of things to think about is we need to build in a structure for assessment. In a lot of districts, mine included, MathLab does not have tests as one of their grades. It does have quiz grades, so there is at least some form of accountability and data for all necessary parties. Next on our list of things to think about is we want to incorporate reviews. We just had quizzes, so now we need to be able to review for them. This is an opportunity to make the class engaging. Not only do we want to create engaging ways to review the material, we also don't have to use the same engaging ways each time we decide to deliver a review. Next on our list of things to think about is we also should build in critical thinking opportunities. We don't, nor should we, force the structured curriculum at the students. We need to keep in mind that the students are in our class due to not obtaining key metrics. These metrics could include their previous year's grades, state test scores, and teacher recommendations, among other things. The point being is that it is human nature to not like something you struggle with. Therefore, there is a large chance that our students don't like math. With that, we need to keep it engaging and for a lack of a better phrase, go off script. The off script is a perfect way for us to include the 8 mathematical practices from the Common Core standards. These are overarching themes that don't fit into any specific domain, but are still very important. So this is why we're going to add critical thinking activities to our list. Next on our list of things to think about is, let's talk about fact fluency or rote methods for other fundamental topics within the curriculum. As per the articles we read in Module 1, the amount of attention paid to fact fluency in middle school grades, should be kept to a minimum or at least disguised within the curriculum. This is true even in a math lab setting. Our way of including it will be through what we're going to call fact fluency / skill building games. Besides the article saying that this should be a rarity, which it will be for us, 2 positives will come from this. The first is that it is another way to have an engaging atmosphere. The second is that it allows a good opportunity for students to feel success. When you couple those 2 things together, you start to develop a fondness for math. Next on our list of things to think about is we need to dive into kinesthetics. We're going to design and utilize some hands-on activities. Once again, this is a perfect way to create an engaging atmosphere. Sometimes hands-on might mean putting the curriculum into a practical approach. Other times, it is a more fun way to incorporate movement into the lesson. Next on our list of things to think about is we want to build in reward days. This will be used for students that accomplish predetermined goals by a predetermined date. While we aren't going to get into the nuances of this just yet, one thing to think about is having a system set up to accomplish such a day and it being worthwhile to the students to make them want to achieve it. We will tackle this more in detail later. Next on our list of things to think about is, let's talk about projects from the other math classes. Some districts have themed projects that span long-term within their regular math class, or perhaps they try to tie things into the curriculum that otherwise wouldn't fit, like adding financial literacy, for example. Whatever the case, we're going to build in 1 or 2 days at most where we allow time for our students to not only progress with this goal, but also have us, the math lab teachers, present to assist if needed. The theory behind this is, since the students tend to struggle in math anyway, let's give them an accommodation to help level the playing field for these projects or this project. The last thing on our list of things to think about is the possibility of a diagnostics test. Our students need some sort of data-driven metric that give us the ability to track their progress, but also determine placement within a math lab, as well as data to help us determine how and when they test out. This can be accomplished within the math lab with our own diagnostic, which is actually preferable since we are uniquely structuring this in a way that a normative assessment may not do justice. Or it can be accomplished through the methods used outside the math lab as per the normal diagnostic methods within their regular math classroom. If the latter, nothing needs to be included. But for our sake, we are going to include this within our math lab setting. All right, we're at a good stopping point here, so let's end this mini brainstorming video and get ready for our next video that will detail how often we use these items within a rotation in the math lab.